live to break down a snowstorm coming Friday. Yes, a snowstorm, not just a snow event. I believe in a snowstorm. I'll explain why. And then we also have another uh, dynamic storm system to track, which I think could provide snow as well. The wording is a little tricky on that because specifics are still a little TBD with a lot of attention still focused before that system. So we got a lot to kind of iron out here, and we also have snow happening right now for many as well in the Northeast. Or some are done, and some are still going. Um, so we need to kind of break this down here and let you all know what is going on with this system here. So we are live on YouTube. We are not live on X. Maybe soon again though. We will be live on X, but at the moment we are on X. We're sticking with YouTube. It's not a switch to YouTube. Well, I guess it technically is, but it's just more so a term, or we'll see how long, but it's a boycott of X just for my sanity, like we talked about. Some are questioning why am I not on X. That is the reason why. If you missed it, you just got to scroll back a little bit, and I promise you that you will find it. So again, I appreciate everybody that does tune in to my videos here, and we'll get the chat going here in a second. And we'll kind of discuss in the meantime, though, what's kind of been happening with the system before we get fully started here. Let me source the link to X, because even though I'm not on X, I'm still want to give the people that do care a platform to find me still, because I understand YouTube is not really not really the time frame. So okay. And there we go. And let me pull up the chat for YouTube now. Let's see who we got in there. Hidden Mega, how are we doing? Merry Christmas Eve, technically, yes, very much so. I was waiting for this notification. I'm glad. We got to get the other people. I know it's a late night stream, but hey, I'm not going to apologize for enjoying the snow. I was enjoying it too much. I picked up 2 inches, and literally most of it happened in about a 5-hour span, 4-hour span, really. Basically, from I would say from about 6:30 to about 11 p.m. is when we picked up most of our snow. So it's really like a 4.5 hour span. So it was very, very fun to kind of watch unfold here. So I don't know about you out there. I think Jersey, right? Yeah, you're in Hidden Mega, so so I'm not sure what you got necessarily there, but yeah, we picked up some good snow here. And we were able to get some really cool photos. I'm like, again, we were kind of stacking away nicely there. We actually picked up about 0.8, 0.9. We almost picked up an inch an hour at that point. It was coming down really heavy for about 5-10 minutes, and then solidly. I know, Kevin. I'm not gonna lie. I was thinking about you, and I was like, man, he just cannot catch a break so far to start the year. It's really been a northeast Connecticut. I mean, northern central Connecticut did okay December 2nd, I believe, but northeast Connecticut, southwestern Worcester County, there's this little mini snow hole that appears to be developing, and I'm right on the fringe of it, but I've still made out just barely enough to not get screwed, kind of. So yes, so we do have stuff Friday. Hopefully you guys can barely hear the Christmas music in the background. Hopefully if it's too loud, let me know. But I do want a little bit. So if you can barely hear it in the background, I kind of like it to set the mood. So we do have, again, we do have some light snow coming through Christmas Day, not for a lot of the Northeast, but for I guess for New England. For New England is kind of the focus, and I'll kind of show you what we got going on there, and then we'll break down what's going on Friday, and then I believe we have another major system to track after that. And again, I say major system because of the 500 millibar VORT profile. We'll see when it comes to totals what this will actually look like. It's a really kind of tricky actually setup here because we kind of close off 500 pretty early. The 500 track is still a little bit fickle right now, and then we're going to discuss a little bit after that too. So this is a late night stream, but hey, if you guys are here to stick around, I am going to be. So I mean, what better else do? You get to sleep in Christmas Eve morning. It's not like you're opening presents tomorrow or anything. Take it and let's enjoy the ride here. Let's freaking go. Let's do it. So again, here's our system coming through, and then overnight. This is where overnight tonight into, I guess it's already overnight, but into the early morning hours, notice the 500 millibar profile that still has to come through here. Notice it still has to come through. And so this is the inverted trough part of the setup, and this is why Maine is going to dump tomorrow morning. I'm telling you, their rates are going to be fantastic. There's 2 snow holes right now, me and then around, you could technically say Boston, but let's be real. December in Boston, not seeing more than a few inches of snow total. This, call me shocked, right? Come on, let's be real for Boston, especially Logan, Boston. How's Southern Staten Island looking? Yet we're going to discuss that. We're kind of going to break down the events that are leading to that, Jordan, and then we're going to go in depth on the system Friday, and then we're going to discuss beyond and after. So if you're willing to stick around, we are going to dive right in. If you don't mind hitting the like, again, if you're here on YouTube, it does mean a lot. It helps grow the channel. You can also join to be a member. There's very cheap and there's very expensive. Bermani, how we doing, my man? Appreciate you coming on. So if you do want to become a member, that is the greatest way you can show your support, but it is not required by any means. I only advertise it because, I mean, I'd be a crappy YouTuber if I didn't mention it at least a little bit. But so yeah, so we do have that going on as well, and you can also you have super chat options as well, which you don't have to. I will probably read most of your chats anyways. If I was a savvy money man, I would probably say I will not read your chats, only super chat, but that's not how it works. But if you do want to show support and you do want your comment to be highlighted forever, just in case, I do miss occasionally comments, but usually not. So and then if you are members, I'm going to be adding emojis that you can type into the chat as well. So we'll do that soon. But here's a system coming through now. And then on the other side of this, right on the other side of this, this is where probably we see our inverted trough potential here. Follow 500 millibars. You can kind of see where that IVT is going to come down. My question is, how exactly does this come through? If this sits a little bit more, see how this kind of, we'll zoom in here just a little bit. See how this kind of sits down? I wonder if we get a band that gets through southeastern New Hampshire, Cape Ann, Eastern Mass, far Eastern Mass. I don't know about out here Eastern Mass, but far Eastern Mass. And I mean, maybe there could be some sprinkles, but you know, let's be real. The focus would be here. Maybe Cape Cod. I don't know if we'll have the thermals. We'll see. I think so, but I could be wrong. So we'll see about that. Keep an eye on that. It's only going to get progressively colder throughout the night here. So I'll be seeing if the flow wasn't so fast and behind it, we'd be IVTing right over here. So, but still decent snow event. I know there's many snow holes within this for Connecticut, but which is unfortunate, but that's the price you pay sometimes. Yes, 0-0. We're actually looking at the Aussie Euro right now. Not too concerned about the Euro itself, really. I think the Euro AI is a little bit more important in terms of model guidance to look at. But then again, model guidance as a whole isn't really the most important thing. But take a look what happens, guys, on Christmas Day. There's going to be some light snow. Look at the 500 millibar never lies, guys, when we're looking at guidance. This swings through. We're going to have some light snow. Central and southern New England is going to have some snow on Christmas Day. It's not going to be major. It's not going to be a ton of moisture to work with. But eventually, look what happens to the system, guys. It freaking bombs offshore. I mean, look at it bombs. Like, this is going to be an all-out freaking monster of a snowstorm. Look at that 500 millibar profile. Newfoundland is going to get a bomb of a snowstorm. Look at the profile there. Look at that thing. Or that's the first system too, and then they get the next part. I mean, that is a tank of a system out there. Maybe some ocean effect snow to keep an eye on too. Out on Cape Cod, Nova Scotia will get some snow as well. But you see that? We do get some, I know it's a little, I'll zoom in a little bit for you, but we are going to get, don't follow the P-type map too much, but you can see the general idea is we're going to get some light snow across these areas here. This is probably the area to watch for. With that, maybe some flurries into here. So I know it's kind of special. You don't really look for accumulation, but if you do get some, it will be fantastic. So keep an eye on that. And we are going to discuss two. Again, we're getting towards Friday, but I think Friday. I think guidance is a little deceiving right now. You got to you have to remember. Let's load up into Friday. So what's the why are we tracking Friday? Because in behind, right, we have this very dynamic. Look what we got going on in the Pacific right now, guys. We can show it on upper level water vapor imagery as well, but we'll just keep it in guidance. Remember what I'm talking about. This is a very amplified Pacific gyro here. This pattern, the Pacific, it is loaded. It is very much freaking loaded, guys. So we're going to have some juice to work with in terms of amplification downstream. And remember the Japan teleconnection that we talked about, the amplification and the pattern that tends to show up in the Northeast U.S., the East Asia teleconnection we talked about, that oftentimes tends to show up downstream, and we're seeing that right now. So look what happened moving through. Again, this is zoomed out. I like to see the whole big picture. If you can zoom in, you should be able to on YouTube, I'm pretty sure. So if you do need to, but again, best viewing experience, the phone is fine, but I'm not gonna lie. If you have like a tablet, an iPad, or a computer, it is always, because that's what I'm streaming on, because I like to see the whole picture. If you do have it, it works even better. If you just put whatever you want to view it on, I am not going to discriminate, so just keep that in mind. But slide to the AIFS here. So as the system moves through, right, you can see it's not a dynamic 500 millibar vort, guys. Right? This is dynamic 500 millibar vort. This isn't. So what does that mean, guys? Right away when we look at this, what does that mean? This means our thermals have to be driving this event to get the QPF we are. And then if we slide, oh, I kind of did slide through, but not what I wanted to. Can I show? There we go. Perfect. What's the key here? Cold air wrapping in behind this system here. What do we get here, guys? What do we get here? We get a massive Canadian high. A massive Canadian high. I'll zoom in on that. Peep it. Peep the Canadian high that we get. A 1033 Canadian high that we get. And so this is what drives this system here, is we have deep Arctic cold air. Take a look at our 850s. We'll zoom in. You see our 850s? We are cold for this event, guys. Cold. Even down into New York City. You want to see some dynamic cooling there too? Look at that. Dynamic cooling is going to play an effect in this event. And this is why, even though this may not be what it looks like initially, I am very bullish on what this event could do for some of these places, even down into here. I'm very bullish on what this could do potentially for some of these places, even though I think into here has to be on watch for this being a pretty notable event, and we'll discuss why. I very much think so. I very much think so. This is really, yes, good cold, hidden mega. This is very good cold air, and this is why the north side of these, there tends to be a cutoff, but the north side of these warm air advection events, they tend to produce in surprise. They tend to surprise in a very neat way. Like we saw this morning, take a look in some of those areas, right? We had terrible marginal temps, but we had some pretty solid snow rates, right? We had a good 1 to 3, 2 to 4 inches still, and especially spots like northern Jersey, into the Hudson Valley too, some of the southern Hudson Valley. Like, we still had some good solid snowfall, and some of that was during the day too in some of those places. Keep in mind, not just overnight. So that you got to remember with these warm air advection events, that is what can drive a lot of these. But remember, we said we have a solid high to the north. We have a solid high. But take a look what we got going on here as well. Remember, look at this ridge over the south here. Guys, this is what's going to drive a snowstorm. This is what, if you looked at this, there is no freaking way you would ever look at this in the long range and say this is a snowstorm. This is why I'm sure many of you, not many of you, but I'm sure many people on WX Twitter. I'm so happy to not be on WX Twitter. I know I really am enjoying how I'm tracking these systems now, guys. 3.3 at your house today at Westchester. You're making my point even more, Bermonti. Congratulations. Way to add to the seasonal. Because so many are obsessed with the wrong things. They don't understand. They look at this 500 millibar pattern. They see this fun-looking thing out here, which we will we won't discuss what that looks like. But if you know, you know. They'll look at this and they'll go, "Whoa, what a crappy pattern for snow! What a crappy pattern! Oh, awful torch!" And it's just, you just don't know what you're looking at. So many people don't know what they're looking at 500 millibar. They look at the 540 line, they look at this big ridge, and they go, "Oh, it's nothing." You have to be looking at more pieces. You have to be. Looking at more pieces. So it drives me crazy, and it's why I'm so happy to be not, looking at stuff on the timeline right now on WX Twitter. I'm just so happy to not to be, because I can just stay within my own head, and really, it's not that I don't want outside information. There's a few places where I want that, but there's a few accounts that I hold some weight on in terms of they have good perspective. But you got to keep in mind, you have to know what you're looking at on these maps in the long range, and it's very critical. It's very critical to know what you're looking at. So is it hard? Yes, but you gotta know what you're looking at here. With some of these events. So let's take a peek. I like what I'm seeing beyond there too. So this ridge is what's going to pump moisture here into our system. It's going to help our moisture transport here, because look at the thermals we're going to be doing here, guys. We'll go to North America. Zoomed out. We'll zoom in a little bit for you, for y'all, and take a look at 700 millibar profile. Arctic cold air in here, guys. So this is a CAD setup. This is a very classic freaking CAD setup, guys. So this is what's going to drive us. We're going to have good cold air. Remember the snowpack we have in place now. We have snowpack from this system that's going to enhance. We have more snowpack across Nova Scotia that's going to happen from this system that wasn't there before as well. We're going to have, guys, widespread snowpack. How many times in December have we been able to say that in recent years? All these places, I mean, even down to here, I mean, we're going to have widespread snowpack. Up here through Canada, systems moving through, Nord Stream systems. I mean, and then for CAD setups, I mean, this is what we want, right? We want strong snowpack out here. Models will underestimate that. Remember the December 2nd we talked about? Remember how cold we got that night out ahead of that system with that cold air, with that high pressure? I think it's going to be similar strength and high pressure. I'm not sure stronger, but this is not a high pressure that you just move out. Remember, so this is not a high pressure that you just kind of slide out. For example, we'll take a look at the high. That high is there to stay. That high pressure system is there to freaking stay. That thing's not going, and so you got to keep that in mind. It's there for the next system as well. And that's why I'm intrigued about this system as well, guys. I'm very intrigued about this system. In theory, we'll have more to track after. But it's why I'm intrigued. And this is more of a New England. This is more of a New England special here. And so if you're in New York City, you're in Mid-Atlantic, this is not a system for you guys. I'm pretty confident in that at this moment. Some things could change. But This is a New England special in upstate New York, because there's a transfer associated with this. This is a New York, New England special. This one after, and we're gonna keep an eye on this. But we're gonna put our attention on Friday. We're gonna put our attention on Friday with this system, and this is so we have strong high pressure out here. So this is not going to allow for this to be so far north. This just can't. We're not going to see. We're not going to see a mix line. Past New York City with this event, likely. In terms of like the consistent. Like, we're not going to see this mix line get into southern New England here, likely. It's probably going to be, if I had to guess right now, it's probably going to get close to New York City, potentially. But that would potentially also be, guys, after the damage is done as well. So keep that in mind. And when we're tracking the system, you're going to have such a good front end thump for whoever's on the other side. Whoever's just on the other side of this warm air advection, or of this of the boundary line, is really going to make out. So let's say if it's just south of New York City, for example, just to the north, these places here would make out fantastic, especially just to the north. Heavier rates, and then you'll have good ratios, and then sharp cutoff. You see that it's going to be a sharp. It's going to be a pretty sharp cutoff here. But notice these warm air advection bands, when they happen, it's such a strong push of warm southerly flow here. Such a strong push that sometimes these bands can work their way north. And also, what you see now is not going to be the end result. So keep that in mind when tracking this. Keep that in mind. But there is a solid ceiling with this setup. There's a double-digit ceiling here with this setup. And it's not a localized one, inverted trough, weird thing like we have now. This double-digit potential is because of inverted trough psychoness here. This is not a normal setup of why. There's a localized potential for like 6 to 10 plus inches. This is a unique setup. Don't do that. Now this is classic warm air advection right here. I'm telling you, just on the other side, we're going to be probably looking at 1 to 2 inch per hour rates somewhere. I can already say that a few days out. I can already say that. There's going to be, I don't know about thunder snow potential and stuff like that, but whoever's on the other side is gonna thump, and we're going to be talking about double-digit potential. Again, I mean, the cold air in place. Your 700s, solid. Super solid. Especially out ahead of this system. Again, not amazing. The best of that cold air is still to the north, but you're going to have your surface cold is what's going to be improved here. So a lot of these setups, we've had decent upper level cold air, but take a look at our surface cold. I mean, that's the difference right there. You see that? Take a look at your surface cold. I mean, teens out ahead of this event here. And then typically where you get the clash, where the magic happens. It's usually close to where the magic happens. I don't take this the wrong way, but I do not care about the OZ0 specific run. I just don't. I don't care about specific model runs days out in advance. Right? Remember, guys, the goal is to, again, it's not anything specific towards you, Jordan, so don't worry. It actually allows me to get into a good point, so thank you. Remember, guys, the goal is to figure out the end result. The goal is to not track models to see what they're showing now. I don't care what models are showing now. The goal is to figure out, when we discuss a forecast, what is going to happen for when the storm happens. Not the GFS dropped 13 inches over my Highline apartment here in New York City. Right? We don't care about that. We care about what's going to happen as the end result. And another aspect here is too the way the system slides off. There's probably going to be some, I don't know necessarily inverted trough, but you notice how there's still precip getting backed up into here? There's going to be some enhancement in these areas as well as the system exits. It's very seemingly like the guidance is onto something with this. There's going to be some enhancement, and when you do enhancement with low QPF, when you do enhancement, you don't need high QPF. Low QPF can get just enough. What's QPF? Moisture, precipitation. And if we go to look at our temperatures at this time. We're -10 across New England, much of New England. We're -8 to -12 across this part of New England here, and still snowing at that point. Our surface temperatures, in the 20s, the low 20s. So you stay cold throughout the column and at the surface, throughout the much of the column and the surface here. And that's the key. That's the key with this system, is we're not going to see those temperatures come way up. Now, right along the coast here, some of these places, yeah, right along the coast, a lot of these places are not going to be as as cold. Initially, yes, from the CAD, yes, everybody gets in the cold initially out ahead of the system, and models will underestimate this too. So they'll underestimate a little bit, probably from about 850 to 925 to the surface. So yes, 10 to 1 maps will not be helpful for basically Long Island. I mean, really anywhere 10 to 1 maps aren't helpful, but basically north of the coast of southern New England in New York City, this will not be helpful. I mean, all of these places here are all going to be easily 10 to 1 plus likely. You just look how. See, the cold, here's the thing about the CAD. The models, this is the perfect range. Models will freaking underestimate the surface temps so badly. So you see these minus temperatures here, these negative temperatures, these will probably extend a bit further south. That line will probably extend further south. Models will underestimate every single time. Every single time they will underestimate the low-level cold. Remember the snowpack we have in place as well. Solid snowpack across a lot of these areas as well, exactly where the high pressure is. So as we get closer to the storm, we will be more amplified. I don't know about necessarily more amplified, but we have an amplified setup already, in my opinion, relative to the event. It's a pretty simple North Stream event here, guys. It's not a 2-part phase here. It's a North Stream system diving in, so we're kind of, taking advantage of what we got here to work with. There's your amplification in the pattern, and then eventually it gets thrown out. There's an old little Norm Macdonald rule too that you can always play. That isn't always right. But system coming ashore here. You can if I can draw a straight line. I didn't really draw one, so I have to draw it a little down. That's typically where the upper level energy tends to exit out, and that's going to be the case. It's going to exit out. If we play this out, take a look what happens eventually. It goes north, but where does it exit out? Exactly where we drew. So in this case, it seems like it's going to apply pretty straightforward. So what's the takeaway? Yes, this storm is not going to just magically miss to the south, or it's not going to just magically decide to go way far north. For those curious, a few days out. This is not a mid-Atlantic storm, in my opinion. It would take some drastic changes. That the AI GFS, I don't know what it's been doing, but it's clearly still not a perfect AI model doing some of that crap. So, but again, this is a solid setup because warm air driving to help pump moisture in here. And then we're also below average sea surface temperatures in a lot of places here. So keep that in mind as well. That will this warm southerly flow here will have a little bit more trouble advancing typical to average for this time of December. So this is a setup here where this might work to your advantage for people close to the mix line that don't want to. Now, keep in mind we are still above average a lot of temperatures across the Gulf Stream and into the Gulf of Mexico and into the Caribbean, but you know, so and that's where some moisture fuel comes from. So it's not like we're going to be lacking in that aspect, but just something to keep an eye on. So again, let's see, let's keep an eye on. There's OZ last night, and then there's tonight. You can see a little bit more juiced, on this. Timing will play a factor as well. Specific timing with the high pressure. Again, the high pressure is not there to go though, and I can't move anything right now. I don't know what's going on. So we got to refresh. There we go. And then yeah, so that does result in snowfall. So I can show you the 10-to-1 maps, but that's really just going to be QPF. It's not going to take into account. And as you can see, clearly your Northern Trough special here in Maine is just going to go to town. Fortunately for them. So, but you can get an idea of the QP. I mean, look at the QPF we're talking there. We're talking a widespread area here of 0.4 to 0.7 inches of QPF. And that's just what's modeled now. And that's just to let you know. If we're talking high ratios, especially in some of these areas, we'll see how far this extends here. But even this, let's take our man Kevin here in northeastern Connecticut. That's about 0.4 inches of QPF there on this system. If you're 15-to-1, that's going to be 6 inches of snow, not 4 inches of snow. If you're 18-to-1, that's going to be 7.5 inches of snow, roughly. So keep that in mind with the system here. That is something we'll have. We won't have insane upper level cold air across these places, or mid-level cold air, so it won't be ridiculous. But it should be solid. And you combine that with the surface temperatures, that will help the snow accumulate, especially on the surface. So don't focus on the totals, but let's focus on some of the QPF here with this system. I mean, keep in mind, actually this won't be helpful. So we're gonna have to go here. So yeah, there's your like minor northern shift, whatever. Again, if that keeps ticking though, then you know that goes to show that it was underestimating something I'm kind of talking about. So you can follow these ticks left and right. The goal is to find the end result. And I've been kind of obsessed with this setup, so I'll be able to really lean hard into this more probably after I finish streaming. And tomorrow, even though it's Christmas Eve, the work never stops with this stuff. And Christmas as well, I'll be busy. But keep an eye on that from last night. Notice no purple on the map, kind of maxing out at a 1/2 inch. Now tonight, maxing out at almost 7/10 of an inch. So that is something that the AIFS was doing, for example, is underestimating the amount of QPF. And look at the cutoff though, right? That cutoff into that cold air is going to be sharp. So here's what usually tends to happen in these setups is it tends to push, the initial push will be solid. So it will get to these places. And then you'll have a little area somewhere of like moderate band. Let's just use this for example. Maybe little area of like moderate banding that gets there. Light moderate banding that gets there, you know, in this area. And then within that, there tends to usually be a push of solid dynamics that overperforms. I'm telling you, it's just what you see this with these warm air advection events. That band, just that northerly push of that band that you just don't expect happens. So they initially pushes further north, but this doesn't mean in this setup. This does not take away from these areas. I know some people hearing me say that and go, "Oh no, don't tell me New York City is gonna." That's not the case with this system. That's not the case. Okay. You are still I am almost confident New York City is going to be in a solid spot. New York City, Long Island, southwestern Connecticut, southern Connecticut, okay? Southern Rhode Island, even with this setup. Even though ratios may not be as good as like northern Rhode Island, southern Rhode Island is going to be in a good spot with this, potentially. Providence, we'll see if there's going to be an easterly component to the cutoff here. But I think in theory, Providence will be in a decent spot to get this accumulating snow for this setup. Okay, I think we're talking a widespread area potentially of 3 to 6, 4 to 8 inches here. And there's going to be some double-digit potential here as well. And I think we could be talking a maxima somewhere of 6 to 12 inches with this event. I really do. And it wouldn't shock me if we end up seeing some isolated totals higher. But for the meantime, I don't want to forecast that explicitly. Let's just stay real here for the moment. And let's get a little bit closer before we start talking about the big totals. But I really do think we're talking a solid widespread 3 to 6, 4 to 8 with this event for a lot of places. And then some of those fringe places will be a close call. Because I just don't see this being an event where it's it's like there's one, let's say it's right here. Let's say if this is like your jackpot in this spot right here. Sorry, New York City. I'm just using an example. It's not going to be one of those events that, oh yeah, this area too. You know, this area gets just almost the fringe of that, and then this area gets still good amounts. No, this area here gets screwed, gets cut off, and then this area here does well, but still not the jackpot. If that kind of makes sense. Or maybe it extends farther north. This area ends up doing well as well, and this area is screw zone. So I'm going to be real about this. There are going to be some people that get absolutely coal in their stocking the day after Christmas with this one. I'm going to keep it real with you guys. And it's probably going to be it's probably going to be into central New England. It's probably going to be into central. Now, how do you make out still into some of those places? Because I have a good amount of people that live up here that follow me. Especially southeastern New Hampshire and into southwest Maine, I have a good amount. You got to rely on the warm air advection push of the moisture to help get banding further. But even then, it's going to be a stretch into some of those places with this setup. I'm telling you, with this, guys, this is a really good setup. This is a really good setup from Central Jersey. And you're still going to get, I still think Philly can get front and thump out of this. I really do. I really think Philly can get front and thump out of this. And I think New York City is in a great spot. I think New York City, I think if you do mix with this setup in theory, let's say we get that northerly push from where models are at the moment honing in on, I think you would still get you would still be mostly snow for much of this event. basically, I think this is where you want to be right now with this setup. And I think that doesn't mean right here. It's somewhere into like Bensalem and Allentown and Trenton still won't do really well with this event. In fact, there could be a little bit more. So here's what something also could be done. Models could be really underestimating the high pressure still. I think we already saw that get taken into account here with this event. We saw the adjustments. Remember with this system, guys, this was 5-6 days out. This was, models had this as a rainstorm, and I knew it. I just knew that wasn't the case with this system. I just knew it. And I'm sure WX Twitter was talking all about a torch and a rain. I just know it. But just knew that wasn't the case. So you got to give some credit to the GFS, I guess, initially for still honing in on that location general idea. But I think now it's a little too far south. I think it's trying to freaking almost get TC into the action. But that's the thing. You have good high pressure. Good high pressure in place. That funnels your cold down. That locks in the storm track. That locks in the baroclinic zone to get forced to push into like New England, for example, and it be rain here. It's not the setup for that. This is a great setup. This has a chance. This is going to be a bold claim. This has a chance from New York City to Long Island to be one of, and even potentially, I mean, we're talking some spots into Jersey as well. We'll see about Philly. Philly's a little sketchy. Central Jersey, some of these places has a chance to be some of the maybe the best December in God knows how many years. Almost a decade, maybe. 2017 was 2018. I don't remember. You guys will have to tell me that live there right now. I mean, I'm putting the pieces together here. We just had a solid 4 to 8 inch event prior. Widespread too, not isolated. Most people saw about 5 to 8 inches. And I think there's going to be another shot for another. And some people will see more. Some people will maximize more. How it works? Well, we kind of explained that already. Right, so this is not a confluence setup here. You have a confluence in place, yes, but this is your high pressure up here, and it's locked in. So that's your high pressure. So it forces this storm track to sit below it. Cannot advance northward like that. It cannot. Oh, let's see how the high pressure works out. Well, we know how that. I'm telling you. I can tell you right now how it's going to work out. I'm telling you, models will underestimate those surface temperatures. They will underestimate. Oh, you could say December 2020. I forgot. Yeah. But New York City still didn't get as much with that. Central Jersey, too, did not get as much with that, remember, with the December 2020. But they did get a good event. But when was the last time? I mean, we're going to be talking 2 4 to 8 inch events here, potentially, in the month of December. I can't remember the last time we were talking about that. Hasn't been since I've been on WX Twitter. I've been on here. I've been on doing weather on here in social media since 2019. Look at manually insert himself into the chat. So randomly, so beautifully. But yes. The other side of this too, so with the surface temperatures, guys, the reality is the other side is going to be ice. It's going to be sleet and freezing rain on the other side. And it's going to be a good amount. This is an ice setup, absolutely. With such a strong, so we didn't discuss that, so it actually Good job, Twisted, even though you weren't trying to. The other side of this is going to be a big ice and sleet event. So people with travel after Christmas, if you're planning to leave Friday, oof, oof, not good. If your plan is to leave, let's say Friday night, into Saturday morning, that's not going to be a good time frame. If you got a flight going out, or if you're planning on driving, I call this a generational. We can't call it generational, unfortunately. Even though you've been in a good spot, Bermani, out there in Westchester County, really good spot from really even November. I think you had a trace of snow at some point in there. But it's been a really solid stretch here of stuff. But reality is, we can't call this generational. We got 2010 is generational. Boxing Day blizzard. That's if we want to get into the hot take terms. And then we got another one to track after. This one right here. Now, take this with a grain of salt. This is going to look messy until the final result, but this to the upper level energy, you got to look away from the P-type mouse with this one. You got to look away. There's a hint of truth in what you see, but this is the key. This was the first time all year we're going to get an upper level energy profile like this somewhere. And if I think models, think about where we were at with this system tracking for Friday at this point. That same high pressure, the guys, high pressure is not going anywhere. It's not going anywhere. It's still there. It's going to look a little different. It's going to get squeezed a little bit. It's going to get squeezed, the high pressure. But it's still there out ahead of the event. And I think it might be even getting underestimated. So then it kind of almost turned into a confluence as well from the previous system. Let's take a look at here. This is your key. Your Greenland block. Look at this dominating Greenland block here. This is something that models will underestimate eventually as well. I wonder if they already are. Nope. Up to a little bit further south and west. We'll see about the Pacific Ridge here. This is another key. Same things we were talking about a few days ago. Strength of this Western Ridge and the strength of this Greenland block. We're going to shape things up here. Because what happens here, you have this initial upper level low, and then you'll have a transfer off of it again as it slides east. So it'll open up, kind of, not really, but will, enough for a new transfer to happen. How early that happens defines what happens in southern New England. I think regardless right now, Maine has the highest margin for error with this setup. And guys, this is a high ceiling. This is, I mean, I know not many are talking about it, but especially for this, this is the most margin for error within this setup here. You could even say into here. This is a high ceiling setup. This is a dynamic storm system. I don't think many realize, like, we're talking like maybe a blizzard here, dare I say. I mean, this is going to be a dynamic system. And I know many are excited for Friday, but this might be the real treat for whoever gets this. Like this, the upper level profile never lies, guys. It never lies. I always say that. This is the most dynamic storm system we're going to see yet. I say you only can repetition of the North Stream. All those bomb outs we've been having across November and December here, up into here. one of these is due to happen a little bit closer. And in theory, you could say one of these even a little bit further south. At some point in January, we could say. Do you think that storm will end up south where models have it, like today's storm and the Friday storm? Yeah, we were just talking about that. I would suspect so. Some. Now the high pressure doesn't leave, but it does get squeezed a little bit, so it's a little tricky. But you also have, I mean, this is your high pressure here. You can see this dominating Greenland. You can see it gets squeezed out a little bit in between here, but this is a pretty dominating Greenland high pressure we have here. We have a big time negative NAO in place. And for this kind of Nord Stream repetition here, that's kind of what we want. It's what we want here. Unfortunately, I'm going to be too far south. For this system, yeah. But for we'll see about Friday. We'll see about Friday with you. I mean, man, you were going to have some good cold air in place. I think you front end thump at least, Twisted. I think you front end thump at least. It's going to be tricky, but I think you do. Where you live here, right? I think you live somewhere in there. Farther north and east you go, the better in Pennsylvania. Besides, maybe we'll see, but I think so. I think that holds. This is probably the best spot to be in Pennsylvania with Friday. And then Monday, Tuesday, we talked about it. And this isn't relying on this. Here's your highest margin for error, especially Maine. But into here is on watch 2. And I'd say maybe more here. And then we'll see with these areas with this system. I'm not ruling it out, especially on the backside after the cold has worked its way through, but FET, what is FET? You circled my exact county, Stalker. Well, it's good to see I can, what was it? Skola or what? I forget your county name, but or your town name. What are your thoughts for hop at the con? Oh boy, don't even test me. County for Jersey. Give me a county and an elevation that if you give me your county and your elevation in your county, that helps more, because Jersey is so small with the counties that it's usually a little bit it's not as fickle. Versus, you see how large the counties are in Massachusetts versus Jersey. Same with Connecticut, kind of. It can vary a lot just with the terrain. But this is the general idea, and we can go to the ensemble. Sussex County, 1,000 feet. Okay. North Jersey then, right? Actually, this is a perfect time to refresh. I'm pretty sure Sussex is North County. Or is North Jersey? Jesus. Tri-state area counties. I gotta refresh my counties again. But I'm pretty sure I had it. What am I missing? Unless I'm wrong. Maybe so. Oh, I was right. Yeah. Northwestern, I was right. Oh, yeah. For Friday, great spot. Great spot. I got to refresh my county. That's why I wanted to pull this up. Westchester, I know Putnam. Yep, you got Orange County, you got Rockland, you got Suffolk, Nassau. All those, Monmouth, Ocean, yep. Mercer, got to get more familiar with that. Middlesex, get more familiar. Somerset, Union, Essex, Bergen, yep. Is it Bergen or Bergen? Someone familiarize with me with that. I know that's going to be hard to pronounce. And then we know Fairfield, New Haven, and Whitfield. We know those. And yeah, Dutchess, Ulster. Ulster is always the big one. I know that. And then Orange is the other big one below. So, but we do got to get more familiar with these again. There's too many people that live here. But let's take a look at the ensemble too. That is unfortunately not out yet. Rolling out. Okay. Oh, front end thump. Okay. I just don't. You put fet and I go to feet first. So. In terms of how my brain was processing that, and I was like, okay, well, I guess that's your fetish, but we'll go with that. Yeah, you'll get front end thump. I got my puppy right next to me. He's in the cutest position right now, but he was enjoying the snow earlier, so definitely. Thinking the storm will have decent front end thump. Merry Christmas to you and PGWX. I see we're going to go from being above normal temps central Indiana and flipping back to winter come Monday. All our snow melted. Think we'll get it back soon. Given the repetition of the North Stream, I would say at some point you will in January. And this is going to be some cold bursts here, guys. This is not for the entire eastern U.S. This is not a torch pattern, by the way. So this is going to be for the eastern U.S. here. I know some people, there's some mixed feelings on people how they feel about BAM. I just honestly I see their YouTube content as well sometimes. They have some good points about why this is not a torch flip for the eastern U.S. And not to just say their forecast is perfect, but I would agree. So it's going to be across this part of the country. It's going to be warm, then cold, warm, then cold, and then as we start getting more into January, that's where things might change again. I mean, the worst part about that ridge in Indiana is you're not even that warm either. So all your snow melted, and it's not like you're so warm. You don't get to enjoy the temps that much. It's kind of more like, let me be specific here before I throw out a number. I was going to, but yeah. I mean, southern Indiana maybe more, but central northern Indiana, take a look. Bunch of 40s across much of Indiana. That's the worst kind of above average you can be. For me, it's like if we got no snow on the ground and we're going above average, frick it, let's just do it. Little record cold in Canada waiting to be unleashed. No kidding, Vermont. We got some decent snows earlier. Middlesex County, New Jersey, Phil. Well, I was just looking at Middlesex County, but we gotta refresh again. Just good test. What was this more? Central Jersey? Northeast Jersey? Yeah. Just southwest of New York City. I think you're in a decent spot. Especially if you're in the northeast part of the county. I think you're in a decent spot here. Let me just keep this up. I might as well just keep it up. Can I zoom in? Hey. Fantastico. Benito. But yes, I think you're in a pretty solid spot for Friday. Phil Purcell, Purcell. I don't know how to say your last name, but I think you're in a pretty good spot. And then here's the thing, then. There's that ridge there to the south, but look at that cold air. You see the two going at each other, guys. This is what creates snow right here. This thermal clash is what does it. And look at your surface temps, guys. This is ice written all over it. This has ice written all over it for these places here. Telling you, south of the main show, it's going to be ice. Excuse me. And then so as we take a look here, this is your surge. So here's your CAD, right? This is your CAD, and this is that clash working out fantastically. Whether you like it or not, this is a fantastic example of the CAD battling against, because you see that the CAD stops then for these places here. Notice how over the ocean that warm air has no problem funneling its way forward. Over land though, can't. Appalachians, CAD's traveling down the Appalachians here, attacking in the low levels. And so this advance of warm air pulls in moisture from the Gulf of Mexico or America, well, whatever you want. I seriously don't care. And if you're going to press me about it, we've talked about this before, not the place to be if you want to care about the specifics of this. And that clash meets this clash. Negative temperatures, 70s and 80s. These two air masses, when you get such contrast in air masses, that's where your most dynamic weather happens, and that's why I tend to believe that this setup will do pretty well. I would take, and you look at the amplification in the Pacific, give me the over on the QPF here. This system with such a lack, remember we talked about it? I said if we had more pump of moisture into this, I would like to think that we could enhance the moisture a little bit, despite the little area of inverted trough specialty here. But this system, we get to tap into more of the goods. We have two air masses clashing here. And then everybody gets cold in the eastern U.S. Maybe besides even Florida. Take your time. Take your time. It's not like you got 20 people waiting in the chat here to see your totals here. But you get an idea on the on-zone mean too. Again, this will show it too far south. So no, we're not looking at snow into these areas here likely. So this will not show it well, but you can see the exact areas we're watching. That's the main show, it looks like at this point. And I think it could extend further north, but it doesn't extend so far north here. This is gonna be a sharp cutoff. But just on the other side, I don't think this goes. I think what you're seeing right now, I'm not sure I'd quite agree with it. Now, there's going to be some enhancement here. So that's what gets a little tricky. But I think this extends further north. And I think the cutoff gets further south from. So in theory, it's unchanged almost, the northern part of the cutoff. So if we slide to the left, to the right, crisscross, cha-cha, real smooth. Turn it up. We could go through that. But point being, like this here, I don't think this, you're not seeing snow on this. We're mainly talking about this part of the cutoff here. Like it just won't go that far. Again, eventually you can see it kind of works its way through a little bit. But typically with these setups here, that light, remember we talked about, we have good upper level divergence. That snow shield can tend to expand a little bit more. This case is different. So these areas here, that cutoff is not going to be as pretty. But there is an enhancement deal with this. So I'm going to have to look more into this because this is not a typical P-type map here. Typically, when you look at this, you would assume this is just going to come barreling through this way, but this is a low pressure moving southeast. And so I'm not sure if this is quite inverted trough stuff exactly. This looks a little bit more enhancement. We're at this point backing the flow, obviously, off the ocean and cold snow at this point. So this kind of sends some antennas off. But typically, it's not this moderate, light, heavy. It's usually heavy, moderate in terms of totals. Zilch, nothing, nada. Heavy, moderate, all in this area here. Cut off. That's where I think we go with this. So people just to the north will probably overperform a little bit. That's why I think a lot of people in southern New England are in a good spot. Even into these places here. Basically southwest of Essex County, I have a pretty decent confidence in. And northern, I guess you could say northern Middlesex as well. But even then, there looks to be some enhancement here. So this is not a there looks to be a caveat here with this setup. Looks to be a little bit of a caveat. And then, but the thing is though, just because I say these things just to extend a little bit further north, I also think this extends a little bit further south. Initially, you'll front end thump. You will. Dynamic cooling here, guys. This is going to be dynamic cooling classic. Somebody in this area is going to be so thankful for dynamic cooling with this setup. Somebody within here. Probably not here. You can kind of cut off. Sorry. I'd have to see some drastic changes for that to happen. But somewhere within here is going to be the most thankful for evaporative cooling that it exists in physics. I can't remember the last time I had snow falling on top of snow. Oh man. sounds exaggerated. There's no way you haven't had snow falling on top of snow over the last few years. I just looked at the cold map for New Year's Eve. A lot of people going to parties in the cold. Indeed, they will be. Last year it was thunderstorms for the ball drop. Oh yeah, I remember that. Always some sort of menace. I remember we were tracking that squall line moving through. I'll say this: I think the time frame that I find most interesting is around New Year's Day. Why? Everybody's finding this New Year's Day time frame interesting. What is there something? I really haven't. The thing is, I haven't really dove past the Monday Tuesday setup as the thing. Is it that guy right there? That trough? Is there something? Is it showing something different here? Oh yeah, drastically. That's why. That's why. The operationals. I mean, in theory, the operationals could be onto something, but this looks a bit different. Some of the other guidance as well, so. I see. I see it. Okay. I see why. The resolution of the AI guidance makes it a little bit more trickier. I see it now. Because it's something rotating around the PV lobe, and yeah, okay. But we'll look more into that as we get closer. For now, we got stuff before this. We can't look too much into 9-10 days in the models. Gotta keep that in mind, guys. Even if it shows something that looks pretty interesting, that doesn't mean there's a ton of merit. I'll just say though, this ridge cannot look like this if you want to get in this time frame. It'll have to look more like this. It'll have to look more like it did 5 days ago from this point. It would have to look more like that. And even then, this is a little stronger than I would like to see our western ridge. I would still love for this to back up a little bit, guys. I'm not gonna lie. I would love for it to. Now, at that point, it's moving further west. So it's not going to be quite the same at that point that we're the most important point. But this ridge here, if this tries to press this too fast, this is not going to allow enough time for this to sink. This thing's got to sink a little bit. Has to. It cannot just push through. Otherwise, this solely turns into like here, basically, to watch for. And this limits anything further south. And I don't know why more. I could be wrong. I don't know what people are talking about right now. To be honest, I'm not just saying that. I really don't. I'm not on X at all. I just source my YouTube posts to it. That's about it. Just sourcing a link. That's the only thing I'm doing on X, and that's only mainly so people that still want to see it and that don't have notifications on YouTube, because I can say it. Most people are not going to remember to turn on notifications. The thing is on YouTube, though, is the problem. No matter how many times I mention it, Again, it's not required, but for people that say they want to see my content and then don't, you got to turn on the notification on YouTube. Otherwise, it's going to be tricky. But this guy's got to sink in. And realistically, we got to get this guy another 100 miles south here from where we are at. We do that. This is ball game for a big time snowstorm. If not, then maybe it's a backside snow for southern New England places, maybe, and it turns into a main coastal bomb. Piles and some snow, I've had a bunch. I mean, I knew when there's a legit snow covering from past event. The X notifications are great since the YouTube ones don't show up half the time. Is that true? I don't know. I don't really get most of my content from others from YouTube notifications. I don't really use YouTube in that way. So maybe I'm a little hypocritical. But we don't care that, but that's not bad. That is exactly what we want to do here, guys. This is the change. We don't usually try to talk about the 6-hour changes. That's a beautiful one, though. That's a beautiful 6-hour change right there. That's gorgeous. Exactly what we want to do. We don't want to shunt the thing, but we do want this block. The key is here, the west part of the block gets underestimated. This part of the block right here, guys. This is for this system. This is the key. Monday, Tuesday. That's the key part. But remember what we talked about for setups. This is the golden hour. That's how you do it. Now, take a look at the change. You see the difference? Notable. We back her up. We back the ridge up in the west. And we get this guy cooking. We get our negative NAO, we get our negative AO cooking. We've had some unfortunate cases of strong blocks and fast flow. This is one of those. The stream separation is going to be there. That's not a concern. This is one of those amplification concerns with the cyclone. And now we hope we get a good enough block and we get a good enough western ridge placement to maximize. I actually haven't seen much conversation about the Monday storm on Twitter. Well, that makes my point. This is why I'm enjoying this. Now, granted, this is not locked. This is a very, you probably why? Because it's not a slam dunk. It's a very boom bust setup here in terms of potential. This is not a slam dunk. But man, look at this. You can see the transfer. It's trying to stick a 997 just southeast of Nantucket here. You can see there is some spread here. There is a good amount of spread. But the thing is, out ahead of the event, the thing why this isn't necessarily sexy, because look what you are out ahead of the event. Even though you have such good cold air, since you split the high initially, the high gets scrunched up. does allow for that initial warm surge to kind of get through. And so this is why this was not a slam dunk at all. You can see that. But then look what happens. You kind of crash. And now your ensemble mean is a 989 in the Gulf of Maine. Usually 989s in the Gulf of Maine, we're talking about deformation band stuff. My entire feed has been in people in southern New England complaining about the Friday storm being too far south. And that is exactly why I am never going to use Twitter the same way again. And it's exactly why I'm not on there right now. It's because I want to enjoy tracking. I want to enjoy tracking. I don't want to get the life sucked out of me tracking. I just don't. What's it like? Space Jam. You know when the aliens or whatever they are take over. You can see the force being pulled out from the body. That's what it feels like when you log on to Twitter now. That's what it feels like. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of it. I don't care for it. I think we'll be back on there at some point, but when we do, it will not be the same. I don't know if I'm going to even look at the timeline. I'll probably select a few accounts I want to see, and I'll go through. Maybe I read the notifications, but it might be just me posting the content, to be honest. Because I just really have no interest in all the BS that goes on there. I'm not gonna lie, I'm really enjoying just kind of sitting back here, and I can kind of just enjoy the stuff. I don't gotta worry about saying my words specifically perfect on Twitter so that I make every single person happy, and I don't have to worry about my mentions. I don't have to worry about that stuff, so I can tailor it for the people coming back, or for the people that consistently follow me. It's just I don't care for that at all. I don't. Even if it's just like 1 to 2 weeks, stepping away from it completely is needed, especially in this stretch of weather. This is a great pattern for storms, and we're gonna have endless people still complain because they're gonna hold on to 3 to 4 years of stuff, and I can't control that. All I can do is try to forecast event by event. Not 3 years ago. I'm sorry, it was a drastically horrid winter for you 3 years ago, but listen, I don't care. I'm trying to forecast what's happening now. And then you have stop being soft. It's like, no, I'm not being soft. I just want to do things. I want to enjoy the way I'm forecasting. I want to forecast how I'm doing it. That's why it's my thing. And you decided to come onto my page and let me know about it. That's something you're trying to get off your chest here. So, I shall hit to sleep. You are doing a stream. You aren't doing a stream on the 25th. I would not assume that. I'd assume we will do a stream on the 25th, and tomorrow night potentially as well too. I would not assume that. I respect you for having the courage to step away from Twitter. I've sort of been doing the same myself. It's tricky. I don't want to step away, but I do at the same time. If you get what I'm saying. Let's see here. Yeah, there is a meme Take a look. It's there. This is your 2-day mean here on this system. There's your difference. You see that? There's 12Z, 06, it had it more, whatever, OZ, but 18Z, OZ. Especially, it's kind of showing exactly. This is actually, honestly, this is a really good, this is, yeah, thank you, Hidden Mega. Absolutely. I appreciate you coming in. One of my more consistent people that show up on stream, so I don't take it for granted. Thank you. Hopefully you left a like. Helps a lot. Break it a bit early before Santa arrives. Can we stream earlier? No, we can't. Listen, I told you I was unapologetic about it. I said I was going to enjoy the snow. I was out enjoying the snow with my puppy, and it was fantastic. I was taking in. I got 2 inches of nice snow, and it's a wet pace, so it is just going to sit there. It is just going to sit there for the next couple days and beyond until probably Friday. So I'm happy about it. But this highlights a good potential here with this system. And then there's your higher margin for error. I wonder if we got some, actually we can look at the panels for, running around with the next time. Well, I wasn't running around too much, but my dog was, absolutely. I mean, you have to enjoy the snow, though. That's the point of it. Let's take a look there. And you notice there is a band, there is some string of guidance that definitely has some, showing that more northern extent. And then there's just some that are really shunted that I'm not sure I quite believe at the moment. I could be wrong. I could be. So take it with a grain of salt, but there's actually a pretty good string of those ones that I'm looking at. So, and I want to see is this though. Yeah. You can kind of see here if you look closer. If you look closer in between here, you'll notice there's a good ceiling here with this setup. There's a good ceiling, and you can notice it. One area I would be concerned about is with this Monday, Tuesday. Southeastern New England could be in a tough spot with the transfer. A really tough spot. Coastal Mass, south of Boston, could be in a really tough spot. So keep that in mind. And keep that in mind with this setup. But for now, we still have Friday. So let's recap with Friday. You think it's plausible I could do well early next week? I think plausible, keyword plausible. Plausible and possible. Not likely at this point. And when I say not likely, it's not because it's some impossible. Man, it's not likely because I'm forecasting it not to be. It's not likely because it's too early. There's just not enough to support any specific outcome, other than eastern, northeastern New England being in a good spot, with the exception of southeastern, if that makes sense. So it's like interior eastern New England is basically in the best spot for this in terms of margin for error. But that does not mean that does not guarantee how the setup finishes. I mean, I'm looking at this here. Let me really see if I can zoom in more. There is a lot of good looking. There's a lot of good looking model runs here. So let's take a look at our juicier ones here. Situation like Canadian model. We can look at the Canadian model next after we recap this. Actually, we'll just go to Canadian. Why not? Why not? We can look at this Canadian model now, and then go back to Friday in a second. I adhere to the people, but I see why already. Take a look at your Western Ridge. That's how that is close to. Now the stream separation here. That's where it works to your disadvantage. That's where it would work to your disadvantage. So that would make it a little tricky. I honestly don't think the Canadian is the best way to do this. I think the stream separation is a little tricky here on this. I don't know what the heck it does here, but that's a heck of a 500 warp profile. But say you never really open up early enough, and when you do open up, it just ends up being connected to here. The height anomaly map on this has got to be ridiculous. Yeah, absurd height anomaly maps. But point being, not the right path with the stream separation here. It's the right path with the block. The block, yes. The stream separation from here, not quite. Not quite. But this would, I mean, in theory, that setup would still do that. You would still get something out of this. What does the Canadian got for Friday? I mean, the Canadian is close to kind of what we want to do in terms of some of the specifics, but it's not quite there. Yeah, but it's close. It's close. Give me here. Yeah, it's got that enhancement as well, the Canadian. What's going on? 500 volt. It's just such a messy 500 volt setup. There's just so much more that still has to come through. Oh, 700. Same with 700. I mean, oh man. That band at 700, man. We got, yeah. I mean, right here is just thumpage. I don't care what the P-type map shows. It kind of shows it. Not sure how that compares to previous, but yeah. I even think it's maybe a little too far with the mix initially. I think there's not enough front end thump for some places. But this would be more, this would extend a little bit further. 700 shows it. And look at that 700 energy. It still needs to move through here. And I'm assuming you can kind of see this is your pocket here for snow. That's your pocket on this euro. See how well it lines up. It's not bad. See how it finishes? We go to surface wind. That's what I was going to go to. Yeah, you got a northeast, you wind off the ocean there. You got a northeast wind off the ocean, and you still got upper level energy moving through here. Moisture source, upper level dynamics, mid level dynamics, still moving through. I can see it. Is it as much inverted trough though? It doesn't seem like it. No, it's not. Just seems like such a strong thermal clash here with more dynamics still needing to move through. It's not like some crazy enhancement either. Just enough, probably. I would assume there'll probably be a little bit extra into eastern New England there, but yeah, let's see how much QPF we get here out of this. And then you still get pretty, I don't necessarily agree. I don't think it looks like that. I'm sorry, I just don't think you go heavy only in this area, moderate, light, nothing. You probably go heavy all the way here, or at least moderate to heavy. And then you go light, and then you go whatever enhancement here, but then you go nothing. We'll see it. We'll see how this works out, and you still do well into these areas, in my opinion. And then I guess for fun, there's your fun right there. But even then, I think this would go. I think that would go further. Just based on, especially the 700 millibar profile, that I mean, initially it's so juiced, but I mean, take a look at what you do here. It's always just on the other side. Like into here should be thumping. That's still a solid 700 volt profile there. Like that area should be thumping, and it's pretty light across a lot of that. You see how it's still focusing a lot of the more heavier. This is 1 hour QPF, by the way. Still focusing it into here. I think it would extend more. But the edge gets cut off sharp. So it's a double entendre. So again, in terms of totals, I think we get a widespread area of 3 to 6, 4 to 8. I think we do. Again, I think we'll see, but it could look something. The enhancement though, do I want to cut it off that sharp? Let me get back to the QPF. We'll look at the ensemble QPF. All right, I don't want to make a super early call that I don't have to. But it's going to be a pretty solid area. Pretty solid area. I mean, we're talking into probably extend a bit. Martha's Vineyard, why not? It would probably. That's probably the area I'm looking at right now for the best chance to see at least 3 to 6, 4 to 8, and then within that, we could be talking though an area of 6 to 12. I think there's probably gonna be somewhere within that. And then on the other side, some light totals, sharp cutoff. All this gray here, and again, I know it. We have a good amount of people that live in this area, but not a ton. So this stuff here probably barely comes to fruition. Now, since it's still a strong mid-level clash going on here, still a strong thermodynamic clash, there's still dynamics coming through, it's plausible, to use Kevin's fun word, that we still get some stuff to come through on the edges, but I would lean against it. It's such a strong cold air mass there. You know, all it will probably do is to just help firm up the northern fringe. You know, probably just help to firm up the northern fringe, and the other side, it might be more of a screw zone. That's why I'm so bullish, regardless of what, if we're just going off the specifics of this, but just in general, that when you have that 700 millibar profile that extends out like this, and then we'll push the banding out on front of it, just like we'll do for these areas here, same thing. Everybody in here gets happy time for snowfall. Happy learned how to putt. That's what you get. So I really think this is a solid setup here. Southern New England, New York City, central northern Jersey, eastern PA, Hudson Valley, much of the Hudson Valley, not just the lower Hudson, much of the Hudson Valley, southern Vermont, maybe southwestern New Hampshire, maybe. Well, I'm happy for you, Liam. Congratulations. You think ratios will be good? Absolutely. Now, along the coast, it's always the case, unless we're talking, deformation band on the backside. Then it's tricky. But this is one where maybe Long Island right in the city itself, along the coasts, maybe ratios aren't quite as good. Solid, better than this system, but maybe not incredible. Maybe not above 10 to 1. But into the interior, yeah, your ratios are going to be good. And this isn't one where it can be a little bit more fickle with me trying to explain why ratios are going to be good. It's going to be a little bit more self-explanatory. Dendritic growth zone, say 550 to 700 millibars, and then you have a surface temps in the 20s. That's a lot more easier and explainable. Not just upper 20s too. Potentially, a lot of people just off the coast, especially just inland, like lower to mid 20s. But this will be efficient. This will be, especially for who's in the heavier stuff, this will be efficient snow ratios here. Efficient. Again, we're a few days out though, so there's going to be some specifics that change. But I'm just kind of, again, the goal is though to highlight the end result. So I'm kind of trying to hint at that for this system here, that New York City, Hudson Valley, Southern New England, include Southern Vermont in there, Central New York, Eastern PA, Central Jersey, North Jersey, Long Island. These are all places in a good spot here with this system. These are all places I think in a good spot at the moment with this system. I have to dig deeper, but I think these are all places that are in a pretty decent spot here. When will be a first call map from myself? I don't typically do first call. I might make a threat map tomorrow. Actually, I kind of want to, or maybe I'll do it right after this. Probably no, I'm not going to do it right after this. But maybe tomorrow I put out tomorrow night maybe potentially a threat map. You look out on the YouTube posts. Potentially, and then also, or maybe we can premiere it when we stream. I'd say there's a decent shot we stream tomorrow. Almost certain that there'll be a video at a minimum though, but hopefully a stream. And then the first and final snowfall map. Usually probably Thursday night, Friday morning, somewhere around there. Probably Friday morning. I like to make sure I get in before the system starts, but I also like to take my time with these because I put out threat maps. I clearly state my thoughts, and if I'm going to put out one map, now I'm not going to wait. And sometimes it just kind of, I usually have my thoughts in place if there's some light snow breaking out before the main show, and I happen to, but. See the exact start time, but it'll either late Thursday night, Friday morning-ish. probably somewhere around there. Ashan, welcome. You think there's a scenario where the Bronx gets screwed, or you think 4+ inches is a lock? I don't want to say 4+ is a lock, but I think right now, I'd be hard pressed to say that you don't get at least 3 inches out of this system in New York City. I think New York City is about a lock for at least 3 to 5 right now. I'd be surprised. I think your minimum floor in New York City, looking at all different possible scenarios, I would say would be like 2 inches in New York City. I think that's like your a bare minimum floor would be like 1.5 inches, 2 inches. I think, but like a realistic floor is probably more like 3 to 5, and then a forecast of like 4 to 8ish, really more. It's very rare that New York City tends to be so close to the higher margin for error for systems, but the thing is with this, you can front end thump, and you're still in a fantastic spot in New York City. Let's say warm air advection, even though you have the cold air. Let's say you ice faster than expected, and that is something that models may underestimate. I will say with this, is models may now, the front end thump still works out well, but they underestimate how far eventually this makes it. And that allows places further north and east than anticipated, actually up in like the here. Let's say if we were looking at this specific run verbatim, which we know we don't love to do, even though we talk and show it just because it helps provide context. But even if that were the case, you probably still get 2 to 5, 3 to 6 in New York City. In surrounding areas. Like, I'd be hard pressed to find anywhere in here that does not see at least several inches of snow out of this. Even into here. That might be a bolder call based on if you're looking at just guidance specifically right now, but your ratios are going to be so good. Only way is if it were a more suppressed track and you have such a sharp cutoff. But even then, we're going to have more dynamics moving through. Be a little bit of enhancement off the ocean here. In theory, these places should still do fine. Now, more up into here. Here. This is where I'd be a little bit more concerned. So hopefully that helps answer your question, Ashan. The truthful answer is I don't see a major fail-safe mode around the tri-state area. I really don't. I know we don't say that too often, especially the past several years. I really don't see this area in too bad. This whole area here, I don't see this in a bad spot at all. You could even extend this to Boston maybe too, but we'll play it safe for the moment to account for some different solutions. But that doesn't mean places into here then. We're not still talking about front end thump. It wouldn't shock me if the front end thump is so solid that we're talking near Philly getting 3 to 4 inches of snow out of this. That would not shock me. I think Trenton's in a decent spot here. I think Bensalem, Allentown, I think you're in a good spot. I think Reading's in a decent spot here, actually, believe it or not, as well, to get front end thump. Now, I want to be further east in Pennsylvania as possible. I want to be as far east and north as possible in Pennsylvania for this setup. But that doesn't mean front end thumps still don't work out in a lot of these places here. Northern Maryland, I don't love this. I don't love this at all. If you're really, really lucky, you can maybe get enough, but the mid-level push of warm air here, take a look at 700 if we can show it. May not have it here. We do. Fantastic. Take a look at 700. That's your problem. Look at the thermal push at 700. That's where your problem exists. See the warm nose? It's not 850. It's not in your low levels. It's classic. Classic warm air advection. It's a mid-level warm nose. Yep, PA will ice eventually. They'll ice eventually. But here's where you also have to keep in mind. What does this say here? This you would say, oh, this is your line. What do all these say though? This says 0, 1, 0, 0, 0. Even down to here, 1. Maybe it's smoothing it out a little bit. Maybe. And maybe the warm tongue is not exactly here at 700. But let's say it is. Dynamic cooling, ladies and gentlemen, is going to win out here. The whole area, where it's especially where it says 0. And you're going to snow until rates give out. And you know what tends to happen here? You don't just snow, you overperform from expectation. So that's why you're going to see some forecasts here that like try to make the mix line seem like coding to 2, and then they'll gradient it to 1 to 3, and then they'll do 3 to 6, and then they'll go maybe 6 to 6 to 10, let's say, and they'll gradient it out, and it won't be that. It won't be that. It will be the gradient will be so tight. It will be super tight. It will be from like coding to an inch to like 3 to 6 right away. This will be a tight, you know what gradient. Does a scenario exist? How does it go? I think some of the alcohol may be talking in that text there, Liam. But yeah, we talked about it. When you have such a strong high pressure, you always run the risk of a little bit of suppression, a little bit, but you can only do so much here. Due to the amplification we already have in the Pacific, I don't see it. If we were like a few days more out, I would say it's more possible. But look at the amplification we have here already. This is now. This is real time. Or not real time, 6 hours ago. Look at the amplification you have in your pattern already. Look at the large ridge you have as well. It's going to follow this track here. It's going to follow a really similar track. That's the pathway. So it's going to have a real tough time doing that. Just not likely. It's not that strong of a high in terms of its placement. Its placement is near perfect. For what many would consider upper mid-Atlantic places in New York City, southern New England. So really, it's a fantastic setup here. And I probably think we're going to be talking double digits for some places here too. I really do. You combine, like, think of it tonight, for example. Was anyone expecting across this area? I mean, we knew that it was going to be probably 1 to 3 for some of these places, but do we really think it was going to be near inch per hour? I measured an 8/10, 9/10 inch in an hour. It just goes to show some of the mesoscale features here when we're talking at events. They can be kind of tricky. And what I try to do is I try to go out on limbs a little bit, Try to get to the edges of those branches. Test the durability, and let's see what kind of forecast we can make here. Let's see how accurate we can get in the specifics of the end result, not what models show now. And that's where so many forecasters go wrong. They do not account for the fact that what models show now is not the latest and greatest result. It's the latest result, it is not the greatest result. Yes, they are. 852. This is smoothed out, but your 700 dynamics are ridiculous with this system. They're going to be juicy. They're juicy. They're going to be juicy. And look at the more that still needs to come through with this. When you do that, you're just sitting in a pocket here and banding. Those are just bands that are going to come on in cold snow too. Won't be heavy. They'll be notable. See that? But yeah, it's a solid setup here. It's a solid setup. I really don't want to hear too. Actually, you can do whatever you want. Not you specifically, anybody in here, but to the general public that likes to complain about all these setups. You can keep doing that, but at some point, that drum's gonna wear down. So keep feeling free to beat it, but you're gonna be beating air soon. You're gonna be so it's just there's not gonna be much skin left to that drum. Because it's a lot of solid setups here. Mm-hmm. You hear the dog in the background. He's adorable sleeping, but it does make a lot of noises. Because we got a lot of stuff to track here. Is that I think I don't know. I think I know what you're talking about. Well, it's just some people that just like to take the other side of things. I think really more for reaction purposes. But I'm not going to really talk bad about him or anybody else specifically. Oftentimes, the only person I do is direct weather. That's probably the only person I do, because he's scamming people. If you hear this direct weather, I don't take it back. You can, if you want to send as many from your cult as well to come comment on my stuff, feel free to. You're just gonna give me more viewers in that case. Feel free to do that. I have already dealt with plenty of people who don't like my stuff, how I do things. But he doesn't. He doesn't listen to me. Not many people. That's why we only have 924 subscribers. And the only reason I say that, I don't like talking about other people, is the financial gain he gets out of making pretty graphics and not forecasting at all. There's zero forecasting ability. And you know what the key giveaway is? Is he was at like 100. I've said this before. He was at like 150K subscribers, like a decade ago, probably. Maybe a little after that. Usually when people get like that, think about how Ryan Hall grew. You know why Ryan Hall grew ridiculously? You know why Max Velocity grew ridiculously? And I think Ryan Hall is the best at his craft right now. No shots to Max Velocity, but I think it's true. I think Ryan's a bit more refined in what he's doing now. Um, it's because it's really good what they're doing. Some people can get on them for the specifics, the titles, whatever. They can get it for however they want to. Reality is doing good stuff. And that's why they're growing, and that's why he has millions of followers, subscribers. And he got Pat McAfee show talking about his stuff. Pat McAfee show's never going to be talking about direct weather, for example. Like or hate Pat McAfee. I like him personally. I think he's fun, but that's a separate point. Being the good people on YouTube, they just keep growing. Especially when they hit that big mark, they just keep going. There's a reason why you only gain like 50 to 100K for the next like 7 years after. It's those dumb winter forecast videos with the Armageddon blizzards up and down the East Coast. Well, he's desperate for views because he's not necessarily, he's desperate for views because he knows he can get this to pay for him like a full time. He can get tens of thousands of dollars every year to do that for a living. And it's a scam because people think they're getting viable weather information, and either they don't care enough to realize what they're getting, or they just don't realize what they're getting, or they eventually do, and they're like, whatever. So that's my spiel on that. I'm taking it for what it's worth, but just not a viable put of weather information. Don't forget, guys, Christmas Day, there's going to be some snow showers. Yeah, during the warm season, shocker. If he was smart, he would do severe weather content. If he were smart. But Christmas Day, there's going to be some snow. New England, Adirondacks, there's going to be some snow. Will it be major? No. It will probably be flakes, flurries, and coating to 1 inch totals. It won't be much to anything. But, guys, that's pretty perfect to do on Christmas Day. We talked about that. Tomorrow, or late tonight, Northern Trough. In fact, that's probably happening right now. We can look at radar. In fact, we still got some stuff showing up on radar here, locally. Still some stuff coming through. We'll see how much more if we can add on of anything. But right now, Maine is, look at what's going on in Maine. This is IVT Central. This will probably drop slightly south as the upper level energy keeps moving through, but we're probably pretty close to locked in here. The GFS and why it's so far off, because it's the GFS. Boom. Roasted. No. Boom. Question answer. In a second, we will. But man, IVT is just parking right now. My buddy Wins Weather, not my buddy, but my man. And then Bart, too, out in Lewiston, Auburn area in Maine, are just probably cooking right now. I got a follower in Waterville. I got some Augusta. I mean, I got people all over Maine. But yeah, they're cooking. They're cooking right now. And places to the south will still do well too. You can see it, that converging dynamics. Somewhere on the terrain there, somewhere in some of these terrain areas here are probably going to make out pretty well too. I think we called for locally within the IVT area 5 to 8 plus inches. I threw out that a double digit was possible. The timing of this is going to be perfect too, overnight into the morning, so great timing for accumulation as well. It's a good Maine setup. Maine's off to, I mean, really a lot of places are off to a good start. Jeez. Only places that aren't to, you could argue here into here. Maybe here. Here's doing fine, considering. You can maybe throw in here. I don't know. But it's like this area right here. It's like these areas here, they're not kind of doing as well. But the GFS did good with pure northern stream, no. GFS is very fickle on events. GFS shows it collapsing. That does collapse. Very interesting. Euro show it too? Yeah, shows it collapsing, I'm telling you. That's usually what tends to happen, so we got to keep an eye on this. I mentioned it before, but we got a bit of model support for this too, for this to happen. So keep an eye. Tomorrow the collapse. That's why I had coding with the IVT. It's why I still had codings possible, some of these places. So keep an eye on that. I think some of these places already did have a coding, dynamic cooling, but more here. And this is just extra for here. And then maybe if you're lucky, you can spit flakes back in here on Christmas Eve, which would be fantastic. Seems like the angle of this storm, basically the carve out is a little bit different. The Bear Clinic zone is just a little further south. That's really it, and it's minor. And the GFS is on the red idea, so it's just, I think, in my opinion, it's just highlighting a good, more southern solution. It's not like so much further south. but it is a little bit more notable. And even then, I think this would be, I think GFS is, I think a lot of these places would start more snow. That's just my opinion. That's the kids. Throwing out solid QPF, though. That is one thing I think the GFS could be on track with. And I'm not just saying that because it's showing what we want in terms of more QPF. Now it's a little blotchy, but now I don't know if we're going to get an inch. We could, but I think the double digits would be more of a result of better ratios than extreme QPF, good QPF. I mean, the GFS is throwing out an inch of QPF here, so keep that in mind. But I think something it is on the right track on is notice the idea of, yeah, it's going to be a large area of heavy QPF and not like heavy, small confined, and then moderate light. No, you see how it goes from heavy, and then there's maybe a small area, moderate to light, and then it goes like to almost nothing pretty fast. It shows the sharp cutoff. That I agree with. I just don't agree with exactly where it is at. And again, even then, it's not that far off. Its previous runs were way far south. So it's probably getting back to the mean. That's not so far south. I guess. Oh, that one was. Okay. 12Z was a little bit more. And 18Z. And then, yeah. So it's just Mahler noise. That's it. Just noise. I wouldn't worry about it too much. But fun to look at, I'm sure, this. Now, I don't know if we're going to be talking about a widespread area of 10 to 15 inches here, but that would be fun. But I don't know. I just, again, it's showing an inch of QPF here. That's the reason why I go, ugh, I don't know about that. But we can refine that. If we need to bump higher than some initial thinking, then we can do that. But for the moment, no reason to. No reason to jump the gun when we don't need to. But yeah. NAM 60. We're not going to be up for that. I appreciate you chatting here, Liam, making me feel like I'm not talking into the void, though. So I do like when people chat, so it reminds me that yes, people are here, even when there's like 20, 30 people in here, but they're not chatting. So yeah, I'm glad they're listening. But are they? Are they there? So I appreciate it. So. Again, we'll look to do a video or a live stream tomorrow. Hopefully, again, the next night as well. Lots to break down here. Lots to break down. So maybe not as many talking about it the period as could be. I don't know. I'm not on there, so I couldn't tell you. But I'm enjoying kind of tracking this stuff right now. We'll see what's to come. So hopefully, many were able to get a white Christmas odds. If not, sorry. Hopefully, you get some good stuff here Friday or